and welcome back to Storytime with Alex. We're on chapter 15 of Supernatural Night Terror by John Passarella. In the last chapter they went and talked to Lucy about the terrible crash where she saw Tony LaCosta die in the car driven by potentially her dead and also invisible boyfriend. And it ended with Sam saying, "She's next." So let's see what happens in chapter 15. A few blocks east, the Winchesters approached the house with a killer tree. "Have I told you it's good to have you back?" Dean said, smiling. "The real you." "What?" "Sammy with a soul inside," Dean said. "You were good with her back there." "Lucy?" "May seem natural to you," Dean said. "And I know you don't remember how you were before, but it's night and day, man." Sam nodded thoughtfully. "You're right, I don't remember being different. Hell, I don't remember being gone. Guess it's like waking from a coma. Everyone else lived through that time and I was on pause. This part of me, I mean, but in some ways feels like I recovered from a serious illness. Feels good to be back." From where Dean parked the Impala on the shoulder of Cheney Lane, it looked as if somebody had killed the tree. The large white oak had toppled onto its side right across the street, completely uprooted and blocking through traffic. A municipal truck with a flashing yellow light idled nearby. The driver had tied a rope around the upper trunk, preparing to tow it out of the way. A few neighbours stood in front of their houses or in doorways, silently watching the workmen. "That tree killed a man? Freaking day of the Triffids?" "According to Jeffries," Sam said. "The branch broke through a second-story window and impaled Max Barnes." "So they put it down?" Dean asked. "Like a rabid dog?" "That's all I know, dude. Storm wasn't that bad," Dean said. "Lightning, maybe?" "No sign of a lightning strike." "Maybe the truck driver knows." Before they reached the man, Dean noticed something odd. The tree had come out of the ground with its roots intact. Behind the cluster of roots, clods of dirt and stones trailed back to the side of the house at 109 Cheney Lane. The large hole in the ground where the roots had been reminded Dean of the ever-expanding sinkhole he'd fallen into earlier in the evening. But this hole, for now at least, remained stable. He glanced up the side of the house and saw the shattered second-story window, the edges of the glass streaked with blood. "That's the boys' room," a middle-aged woman said to him from a neighbouring yard, nibbling nervously on her thumbnail. "But it wasn't him." "Excuse me?" Dean said. "Are you with the police?" "FBI," Dean said. "And you are?" "Bob," she said. "Bob Hen." "You know what happened here?" "Max Barnes, the father, was killed. Some kind of freak accident." "Freak accident?" "Apparently he was killed by a tree branch going through the son's window. That's what I meant about it being the boy's room, but the boy wasn't the one hurt." "What happened leading up to the accident?" "When the storm started, I was watching TV with my daughter Nicole." She pointed back towards her house, and Dean saw a teenage girl standing in the doorway, arms folded, leaning against the door jamb, which had a black ribbon pinned above the doorbell. When Dean's gaze fell on the girl, she gave him a little wave. Dean smiled with a slight nod of acknowledgement before turning his attention back to the mother. "Go on." "The wind was gusting, but I didn't think about it too much," she said, "other than worrying we might lose power, which we did briefly, a brownout." "And the tree?" "I heard it thrashing about, hitting the siding, but," she shrugged, "nothing unusual, considering the wind. Then I heard glass shatter." "Did you go outside and look out your window?" "Not until I heard Melinda, poor Mrs. Barnes, screaming. I thought something had happened to her boy, Daniel. That's when I looked out the side window. I knew something was off. Then it hit me. Their white oak tree was missing. I could see the entire side of their house." She shook her head in disbelief. "Of course I went outside then, and that's when I saw the tree in the street." "Like it is now?" "No," she said. "It was standing upright. Well, at least for a moment. But then it slowly tipped over and crashed to the ground." "How is that possible? Surely a tornado could uproot a tree, but this wasn't a tornado. Other than the window, nothing was damaged. I mean, aside from Max." "Freak storm cell, maybe?" "Something freaky," she said. "Such a shame. I can certainly sympathise with the family. I lost my husband in the factory fire." "Sorry for your loss." "Thank you," she said. "Nicole and I lean on each other a lot since then. Earlier tonight, did you happen to see Max Barnes?" The woman shook her head. Paramedics brought him down on a stretcher, but his body was completely covered. That's when I knew he was... that poor man. The mother and son. Where are they now? They left in one of the police cars, Tom Cuffey, the municipal worker, said to Sam over his shoulder as he walked towards the open door of his truck. To give a statement? No, the workman said. She did that here. She wanted the boy checked out. Mother was kind of hysterical, but the kid was worse in a way. Robotic. Shock. Yeah, Cuffey said, shaking his head in sympathy. Geez, young kid like that sees his dad killed right in his own home. Can you imagine? Did you see the father's injury? Not personally, Cuffey said, sitting in the driver's seat with the door ajar. But I heard the branch went clear through his chest, back to front. During the storm? That's what I hear. Is that branch still on the tree? Police had it sawed off, Cuffey said. Evidence of what? I don't know. Anything like this ever happened here in town before? Are you serious? I doubt anything like this ever happened anywhere. Good point, Sam said. About the tree. Just moving it to the side of the road. Crew will come by in the morning with chainsaws and take care of the disposal. Any idea how it got in the middle of the street in the first place? Cuffey closed his door, but lowered the window to continue the conversation. As if it couldn't get any weirder, right? One of the cops said, no, I shouldn't repeat that stuff. It's in poor taste. Sam raised an eyebrow. Trust me, I won't be offended. The man started the truck, put it in gear, and slowly began to drag the tree towards the shoulder of Cheney Lane. Branches bent, twisted, and a few cracked as the trunk neared its temporary destination. Sam walked beside the truck, casting nervous glances back at the fallen tree with its thrashing limbs. Such was the life he and Dean had led that he had no trouble accepting the possibility of a murderous tree. With the tree parallel to the curb, occupying the shoulder of the suburban street, Cuffey shifted the truck into park and climbed out to untie the rope. Okay, he said to Sam. Suppose you being FBI, you understand gallows humour in these types of lousy situations. Sam nodded. One of the cops looks from the side of the house where the tree used to be to the middle of the street where it ended up and says, "This tree committed murder, then tried to flee the scene of the crime." Cuffey punctuated the delivery of the line with an embarrassed frown. What I tell you? Poor taste. Sam shook his head. As good an explanation as any. Dean joined them as the workman took out a utility knife and sliced the rope above the knot around the tree trunk. Then the man walked back to the truck's tow ball hitch and sliced the rope free at the end, coiled it, and tossed it in the truck bed. What do the cops think really happened? Dean asked. They talked about writing it up as a wind-related accident, Cuffey said, but honestly, I think we all know that's bullcrap. The man climbed back into the driver's seat of the truck, closed the door, and turned off the yellow warning lights that had been flashing since the Winchesters arrived on the scene. What's your explanation? Dean asked. Cuffey leaned out the window with a conspiratorial look on his face. 3 words, he said, and ticked them off on his fingers. UFO. Really? Wouldn't put it past them ETs to have a secret base up there in the Rockies, their own version of Cheyenne Mountain. Sam glanced at Dean. Why would aliens want a tree? Who knows? Thumbing their noses at us? Fight the fairies, Dean said, just loud enough for Cuffey to hear. I wouldn't hazard a guess as to their sexual persuasion, he said, shrugging. But if you got a better explanation, I'd love to hear it. Not at the moment, no, Sam said. You said FBI, right? Cuffey said, arching an eyebrow. You wouldn't happen to be MIB? No, wait, if you tell me you'll have to wipe my memory. Forget I asked. As the man drove away, Dean cast an accusatory glance at Sam. What? Sam said. He seemed rational up till the end. Nice boy, always kept to himself. Shut up, Dean. As they walked back towards the Impala, Sam asked, Neighbour lady see anything? Saw the tree topple in the middle of the street, Dean said. Not how it got there. Mother and son taken to the hospital to have the kid checked out. Got that from the workman too, Sam said. Kid had to have seen something. We'll catch him in the morning, Dean said. Hey, you remember all those black ribbons and bows on Arcadia Boulevard? Yeah, hard to miss. They climbed into the Impala. Dean hesitated before turning the ignition. Neighbour had one on her door. Lost her husband in the fire. You think we should check out the garment factory? Worth a look. Dean started the Impala. Before he pulled away from the curb, Sam's cell phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID. It said, Clayton Falls PD again. Sam answered. Agent Shaw, Officer Richard Jeffries said. Keeping you and your partner in the loop like you asked. Go ahead. Report on the radio of an escaped Supermax inmate. A jailbreak? Sam asked, incredulous, though at this point nothing would have surprised him. Yep. Most recent addition to the zoo. Serial killer named Ragnar Barch, better known as Butcher Barch, or the Cleaver Cannibal. Oh, that was just a wee short chapter. So let's see if we find out more about the Cleaver Cannibal in the next episode.